The SEC can't get enough of Auburn getting rid of Hugh Freeze.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Hopped on with Chris Gordy, the host of Locked On SEC, and wanted to share that conversation with you. Here it is.
Welcome in our buddy Zach Blackerby, host of Locked On Auburn. And Zach, you have been busy these last 48, 72 hours or so. Talk to me about the emotions, the reactions from Saturday night in what was perhaps one of the most embarrassing home losses in the past decade for Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, maybe ever. I thought that was worse than the New Mexico State loss from a few years ago. Scoring 3 points against a pretty bad Kentucky team. I'm sure your significant other was fired up, though, so congratulations to her.
See, here's the tough part for Kentucky fans. They're out on Mark Stoops, so they're kind of hoping for losing out, and he gets fired. So it was like this.
Yeah, does he keep his job now? Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, especially with the John Sumrall tie kind of to both schools, which is kind of wild. But yeah, I mean, obviously Saturday night was crushing. I wanted him gone right away. I wanted him to go to the press conference to wear it, and he answered some questions I think that were like awful messaging. I was like, yeah, this guy's done. This guy's done. He's going after the fans now. And then obviously it sounds like he and John Cohen met around noon on Sunday. The discussion was had, and then, obviously the team knew a little bit after that. So, yep, Hugh Freeze is out as Auburn's head football coach, and DJ Durkin. It is DJ Durkin's program for the next few weeks, at least.
Let's rewind a little bit, because I've talked about this with Brian Kelly when he got hired. Talked about this with about Hugh Freeze when he got hired. Billy Napier, I was skeptical on. I was worried about the jump from ULL to Florida and Florida's brutal schedule, and it didn't work there. I still think Billy's a good coach, but that was just too big of a job for him. But sure. The Brian Kelly and the Hugh Freeze hires, the day those were made, I said these are going to work. I was convinced Brian Kelly had been a winner everywhere he'd been. He won at Notre Dame. He was coming to a big-time program like LSU. And Hugh's track record of being an offensive guru and coaching quarterbacks had worked everywhere he'd been. So, look, I'll admit I was wrong. But, what happened with Freeze, Zach? Why was it not successful?
Yeah. And it's like, did he not have an offense at Ole Miss and Liberty? It just happened to work out, and then it didn't here. It's super fascinating, because I'm there with you. And I'm not going to change my stance on this just because it didn't work. Like, I was wrong as well. But everything he rolled out was everything you think about how you're supposed to rebuild a program. The day he's hired, we're having this conversation, and let's say somebody comes from the future 3 years later and says, hey, Auburn's going to have top 10 classes every time he's here. They're going to have top 5 portal classes. And then the quarterback, his third season, is going to be one of the highest rated recruits that Auburn's ever had coming in. And everyone will be like, oh my goodness, so it does work. Great. He found out a way to, compete with Alabama and Georgia in recruiting, but obviously it didn't. I just didn't have it on my bingo card of that being a reason why it failed, of it being on-field offensive production where it failed. Maybe if you don't get the defensive side of the football developed, or, just the general, positioning that Auburn is in the conference with, having to compete with Alabama and Georgia, maybe that just doesn't work. There are certain things that you could definitely see, okay, maybe this doesn't happen. But I mean, the fact that it's the most it's the worst historical stretch in Auburn football history. Wow. Yeah, I didn't see it coming.
It's crazy, because, I mean, it's not like those Ole Miss quarterbacks he had, Bo Wallace, and those guys were absolute studs. Obviously,
Chad Kelly. Right.
Malik Willis at Liberty's gone on to the NFL, and he's a backup, but, he's making a career out of it. But, when you look at Payton Thorne, Jackson Arnold, and even Ashton Daniels, I put him in there, I look back and go, these are the best three? These are the guys you put your reputation, because we look at around the SEC, Zach, the 6 successful quarterbacks the last few years, Jaden Daniels, you couldn't get that kind of guy. He was just an okay starter at Arizona State. He gets to LSU, they turn him into a Heisman Trophy winner. Why couldn't you find a guy like that? And look around the rest of the SEC at all these other great quarterbacks. Like, how did they miss like this?
Yeah, and I don't think it's all on the quarterbacks. Like I think whether it's Payton Thorne, whether it's Jackson Arnold, whether it's Ashton this past weekend, I don't think they were given a true opportunity to succeed. And sometimes you can put it the offensive line. I think Peyton's first year certainly you could put some on the wide receivers, and that wasn't Hugh Freeze calling the plays that year. And then obviously the last 2 seasons, the scheme didn't make a ton of sense. And then like what happened last year at the end of the season? Well, Peyton ran out of eligibility. But then everybody else who could have come back left. They didn't want to compete for the job because they didn't feel like it was needed. And you heard all of these different things about communication issues. And clearly this team is still just, they didn't figure it out. There's a lot wrong. I don't think it was just quarterback. Was the quarterback eval perfect? No, absolutely not. What was the offensive line eval perfect in the portal? No, absolutely not. But once again, it didn't work. There's a lot wrong culturally on the offensive side of the football. I think DJ Durkin kind of took a slight shot at that at his presser on Monday. But yeah, no, it didn't work with Hugh Freeze. So we'll see if it works over the next few weeks with DJ Durkin.
Well, let's get to that on Monday. We did hear from AD John Cohen and DJ Durkin, and John Cohen kind of taking a shot. We heard Hugh Freeze for weeks saying, we're close. And they were. A lot of one-score losses, but John Cohen firing back saying, I'm not going to say that we're close. Close doesn't matter. Getting it done matters. And that, to me, is the epitome of, yeah, you can give me coach speak all you want. At the end of the day, dude, you're judged and graded on wins and losses, and you got to win more than you lose. And Hugh didn't do that.
Nope, he didn't do that. And then, Cohen had another one in there where it's like, even if you had an average offense in the SEC, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. And that's something I talked about a lot when folks were like saying, oh, you're getting too excited for Auburn this year. I'm like, well, Jackson Arnold doesn't have to be great. He's just got to be okay.
Right.
And that is true. Like if Jackson Arnold's the 9th best quarterback in the SEC, there's a real chance Auburn's undefeated right now because of how good this defense has been. But that's not it. The offense was an absolute joke, and we'll see if it can get fixed.
It is interesting, Durkin, too, saying, he believes Auburn has the talent to bring the offense back alive. He said he's going to do everything he can, or his message to the fan base says he's going to do everything possible to bring winning back to Auburn's season. So, look, it's an awkward thing because you were Hugh Freeze's assistant, and now you're the head man, and you got to kind of like, hey, all the stuff he was doing wrong, we're going to do right now that I'm in charge. It's a weird message to send, but it's one that the fan base is on board with Durkin. Like, the defense has not been the problem.
No, it hasn't. And I do think some stories have gotten out internally about how there were 2 separate cultures on different sides of the football. DJ Durkin doesn't care that Keldrick Falk was a 5-star coming in, or that, Jay Crawford was this, high-rated 4-star that kept getting, Auburn's got a lot of talented guys. DeMarcus Riddick, former 5-star, like he's barely playing. So there's so many different things going on where DJ Durkin says, like, I don't care who you are prior to this. I care what you're able to do in practice. And if you can play, you'll get on the field. That doesn't sound like that was the case on the offensive side of the football. I'm going to use the term that players on both sides of the football have used to me, and that is that those guys were babied. And we heard about the reports of Jackson Arnold telling DJ Durkin to, hey, take it easy on Jackson. We got to get his confidence up. Boy, do you see it now. I've never seen somebody tiptoe around a quarterback's confidence as much as Hugh Freeze and Auburn have for Jackson Arnold this year. But like DJ Durkin would never do that on the defensive side of the ball. And do we see some level of raised accountability on the offensive side of the ball moving forward? I hope so. That'd be incredible. And maybe that allows you to beat somebody you're not supposed to down the stretch.
Real quick before we do move on to the future and what the future holds.
Yes.
Derek Nick's going to be he's named the play caller moving forward. He did have the title of OC already, but he was very highly thought of at Ole Miss. Is this one of those things where the chains are off and we're going to unleash this big offense now that Derek Nix is calling plays?
I hope so. I'm not holding my breath, but I hope so. I do love that that DJ Durkin was like, yeah, he's going to be the play caller. Derek Nix is going to be the play caller on all downs, all situations, which seems like a slight dig to the, controversy of, different people being involved on different downs. But I question how much of that was legitimate, but I thought that comment was funny.
Yeah, all the red flags we talked about in the offseason,
They were there
with Auburn, it was there, and whether we wanted to ignore it or not. One more real
it all
quick.
just seems so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like there's no way that you could be a head coach in the SEC and these things happen, but they were, I guess.
Real quick. Here they are at 4-5. If they can win 2 of the last 3, they can be a bowl team. Not that does anything. It's fun to say you got to a bowl game, you're bowl eligible. Mercer, I think, is a sure win. I mean, again, as bad as the season has been, but this weekend at Vanderbilt, and then of course the Iron Bowl to finish the season at home at Jordan-Hare. Can they win either of those?
Sure, they can win. Am I picking them to win either of those games? Probably not, but they have the talent to beat Vanderbilt. I mean, they limited Diego Pavia last year. The offense just couldn't score. I think they scored 7 points in that game. So it's going to come down to what it has pretty much every game this year. I think the defense is going to give the offense a chance to win. If Auburn gets to 24 points, I think they've got a really good shot, but that feels like a major if right now.
Wouldn't that be funny that they finally beat Diego Pavia right after they get rid of Hugh? I think that'd be a funny story.
I think that would be funny. Yeah.
All right. When we return here, we'll get Zach's thoughts on the future and who the next head coach will be at Auburn. Locked on SEC coming up next. Hey, but first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA's back. No better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, you want to ride the hot hand. FanDuel, they got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Of course, all the college action up there as well. Told you about some of those lines this past week. 3 underdogs pulled off the upsets in the SEC. If you had parlayed all 3 of those, big payday you would have had over there at FanDuel. Hey, you maybe like Auburn to pull off the upset over Vandy this week. You could do that at FanDuel.
7.5. 7.5 points.
Not crazy to think. Of course, FanDuel, they keep every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com. If you've never signed up before, get signed up. Play your game with FanDuel. You can do so right on the app on your phone. Is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Continue our conversation with Zach Blackerby. By the way, thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Zach, before we talk about some of the coaching candidates, let's talk about the internal candidate. I've seen a lot of people making a push saying, look, we know DJ Durkin is an elite defensive mind. The defense has been awesome. Maybe if we keep him, he becomes, we remove the interim tag. He's the head coach moving forward, and we go get him an elite offensive play caller or something like that. Maybe this could work. So talk to me about that thought.
Yeah. I think DJ Durkin absolutely has to be a candidate. I think he would be a great fit. If DJ Durkin was the defensive coordinator at Georgia or Alabama or Oregon or Ohio State, I think Auburn fans will be all over the place clamoring for him to get the job. He's done an incredible job. And some of the folks that we are probably about to talk about, I think you can make the case that DJ Durkin has a better defensive resume than most of these guys. I think what he's done the last 2 seasons has been incredible. And also, we've said, several jokes about Hugh Freeze, but let's give him credit where credit is due. He's gotten the talent to Auburn, and most of this talent they love DJ Durkin. And so I don't know how much you should value the potential of player and roster retention when making this decision. But if you do, that is a strong pro. And, if you're doing the pro-con chart for DJ Durkin.
2016, 2017 was not that long ago when DJ Durkin was the head coach in Maryland, and it wasn't great. He went 10-15 overall, 6-7 season, lost a bowl game. So he was 6-6, lost a bowl game, and then 4-8 the next year. Should we put any stock into that, or different time, different place, different talent, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, how hard is it to win at Maryland? I mean, nobody else seems to be interested in doing it. So I don't think I care. I mean, and since then, he's been a pretty solid defensive coordinator now at multiple stops. So I don't think I care about the win-loss aspect of what he did at Maryland.
And not that I even know the full story, but what was the story? There was a kid on the team that died because the coaches were pushing him and all that stuff. People automatically attribute that to DJ Durkin. The same thing with Brian Kelly at all those. That's
and it's awful. And if you're the head man and that happens on your watch, like that's awful. That stinks. And clearly some things went wrong if somebody's going to lose their life being associated with your program. But it is interesting to me that this only becomes an issue when Auburn is looking to hire him. Like this didn't really happen when he was at A&M. So I don't. Right. And then there were talks about reports how he was going to join Saban's staff as like, an analyst or whatever. And it was crickets. Nobody seemed to care when that would happen. So yeah. I don't.
My thing on that
clearly background checks have been made. Clearly
an investigation was done. Whoever was at fault was, again, we got to turn the page, but again, it's fodder for message boards and
it's awful.
Twitter.
It's awful. Somebody
stuff.
died. That's terrible. That's terrible. But if DJ Durkin was at fault, and he would be punished for that. Like this is a situation that, same with the Brian Kelly situation. Like this is something that was monitored closely and investigated, and everybody came to their conclusions.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at it, Zach. The latest Vegas odds. Again, this is just one sports book out here, but odds for next Auburn head coach Kenny Dillingham, the Arizona State head coach, who I like a lot. They have him as the odds-on favorite right now at plus 300. This doesn't mean Auburn thinks he's the favorite. This doesn't mean this is John Cohen's top pick. This is just a sports book throwing some darts against the board and saying, hey, who's most likely? And I think they're probably connecting the dots, Zach, that Kenny spent a year at Auburn many years ago. But give me a thought on Kenny Dillingham. Obviously took Arizona State to the playoff last year, was an eyelash away from pulling off that upset at Texas.
Yeah, they really got screwed against Texas. They probably should have won that game. If Texas wasn't Texas and, officials weren't officials, that they probably would have won. I think Kenny Dillingham's a good coach. I don't know why he would leave Arizona State, if I'm being 100% honest, but if I got the notification and got the report that Kenny Dillingham is going to be Auburn's next head coach, I'd be over the moon. I think that'd be awesome. Like you said, the ties, he was under Gus for a year. I don't think he was even allowed to call plays. I think he was just kind of here hanging out. And that was kind of a big talking point when he was here. But I do think what he's done at Arizona State is great. He's an Arizona State alum, so that makes it a little trickier. Are you going to leave home to come do this? But yeah, he's been to the playoff. That's what you want. It's like, okay, you've done it elsewhere. Like, can you do it here? Please get us there.
Yeah. And taking a look at the rest of the odds here, John Sumrall at plus 350. He's the Tulane coach, and look, I think his name's been floated out for the Florida job, the Arkansas job, the LSU job, and now the Auburn job. So Sumrall's done a good job at Tulane. He could have basically, Zach, feels like his pick. If he wants any of these SEC jobs, he could have it.
Yeah. John Sumrall, I think, is super interesting. In fact, I talk about him a lot on my latest edition of Locked on Auburn. I think John Sumrall needs to be your first phone call. One of the things I like about John Sumrall is a lot of these guys have they were a part of somebody else's coaching tree. Like when you look at John Sumrall's, he hasn't really coached under anybody. He's kind of made his own path, which I really, really like. But I also like the fact that he's a defensive-minded guy. I think if it was up to me, I would like Auburn's next head coach to be a defensive-minded guy and then spend the money that you're spending on defensive coordinator right now to get one of the best, most accomplished offensive coordinators in college football, make that a really attractive landing spot for someone, and just let, whether it's, John Sumrall or even DJ Durkin, let them just kind of run the program and run the defense. So I think John Sumrall makes sense. I think John Sumrall would be a great fit at Auburn.
Any of those other names jump out to you, from James Franklin, Brett Key at Georgia Tech? Jimbo Fisher, I think, is just funny. I
hate how much I'm seeing his name. I hate it. There's I'd be really upset if that happened. I'm going to be honest. I don't know a ton about Brent Key. I mean, clearly Georgia Tech has been really solid this year, and then what they've done with Haynes King is awesome. Eli Drinkwitz would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think what he's done at Missouri, we kind of all picked on him for the first few years, and then we kind of look around and like, oh, Missouri's like good. Like they've been good several years in a row now. I think if he were to come to Auburn, and I'm pretty sure he's favored for some other jobs in the SEC, a lot higher that you'll probably get to later in the show. But if he gets to one of these other jobs in the conference that have more resources than what Mizzou has, like watch out. Eli Drinkwitz can win in this league.
Last thing for you, Zach, is there any name not on that list that you think needs to be considered?
DJ Durkin. I think DJ Durkin should probably be like a top 3 as far as odds go to be Auburn's next head coach.
No other name off the wall that you think Urban Meyer?
They might try Lane Kiffin again.
Yeah.
I don't think he's leaving, but I think they might try it. I think they should try it.
Cadillac? Any Cadillac Williams?
No.
Some people have commented on our page saying bring back Cadillac. So
a lot of people comment that for sure. For sure.
I'd say Cam Newton. Let's just do it.
That I could get behind.
I don't think he'd be good, but I think it'd be fun.
But what a ride it would be for 2 years.
He is Zach Blackerby. The offense would be better. I know that. Zach Blackerby, Locked On Auburn. Zach, appreciate the time, man.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Thank you to Chris Gordy. Thank you for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Make Locked On SEC your second listen every single day. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you're tuned in on audio. Please subscribe and leave a review. It helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.